Good evening and welcome to the Bobby Moore Stand. My name's Chris and I'm joined by a star-studded lineup this evening. A star-studded lineup, I really am. First up, we've got a TikTok extraordinaire, one of the most prominent content creators out there. How you doing, Alex? You good?
I'm okay, thank you very much. TikTok extraordinaire, prominent. Not words I've heard describe myself before, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And next up, we've also got a serial podcaster, one of West Ham's longest-running podcast channels, Stop Hammer Time. Good evening, Pete. How you doing?
Good evening, Chris. I'm good, thank you. Better than I was last night.
Yeah, well, can't be hard, right? Can't be hard. And last but not least, Gary.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking, mate. Let me start that again. Last up, we've also got Sky Sports' very own Gary. How you doing, Gary?
Sky Sports' very own. I can go on there to get baited by Jamie O'Hara. That's all I wanted today, honestly. You got half hour's notice. Who's on? Jamie O'Hara. Oh. And then
how you doing anyway? You right?
Yeah. The amount of times I've wanted to call Talk Sport up and just have a right go at him. The amount of
you can't do it on Talk Sport though, because they'll just cut you off when they don't when they're a bit bored with you, when they don't want to hear it, right?
I've done it twice. I've done it twice, Alex. I've called up Talk Sport with Cundy and O'Hara, and I actually had some good conversations with them. But when I was getting to some really key pertinent points, they put me on mute. Yeah, they put me on mute and they carried on talking, and then they brought me back in. So I didn't know when they were bringing me back in or not. It was really difficult. So they're very, very, very clever about how they do it. You know, if it's not going along their narrative, they'll cut you off straight away. It's a real pain in the ass. It really is. But yeah, no, you've done a great job on that, Gal. I did a really, really good job on that. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you did.
I was just glad to get it over with.
Yeah, well, you've done a great job. But look, welcome. Good evening to everyone in the chat. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. We, as per usual, have a lot to talk about. We really do. And that's not me just saying this. We really do. I think it would be remiss of us not to bring up Brentford, the infamous Brentford game yesterday evening.
Yeah.
Do we have to?
We definitely need to do we need to do it. We have to do it. Yeah. You know, I'll tell you something real quick, real quick. Gary and I actually did a video last night until what time was it, Gal? About 20 past 1. No, it was 20 past 1, mate.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking disaster, wasn't it? It was a disaster.
Yeah. Well, we were so irate and angry. I messaged Gary afterwards. I said, you know what, don't stick that out, because it was one of those where emotions were all over the place.
Yeah. We
pretty much couldn't string two sentences together, could we? It was really, really tough.
You were right to, because Chris's quality control, he said that can't go out. And I had a little look at it. I thought first 5 minutes looks all right. And then it just went downhill from there. It was chaos. So, you were right. Right to put it.
Look, we're going to give it a go tonight anyway. So we will discuss Brentford. Absolutely. We have to. Yeah. We're also going to talk about the boycott. 100%. We have to talk about the boycott. And I think last but certainly not least, we need to talk about what's next for West Ham. Okay. We can look over the course of the next couple of months, leading up to the January transfer window and potentially beyond that as well. There's a lot to talk about tonight. So yeah, I think we should kind of crack on. Gary, you've got something you wanted to bring up about the boycott before I kick this off, right?
Yes. So we've got a message. So look, a lot of people have given their opinions on how successful it was. So I just wanted to get it from the horse's mouth. That horse being Hamish United. So first of all, a little bit of information. The club reported a 61,800 sellout, which it clearly wasn't. That's how many tickets were sold, though, because it included season ticket holders. The actual sales were 39,966, just under 40,000, meaning probably 22,000 season ticket holders, and just under half season ticket holders boycotted and didn't resell their seats, which I think is pretty good, actually. There were lots of white seats during the game. I know that I'd like to have seen the pictures of upstairs to see how many white seats there were. But obviously, where the cameras were, it was, it looked like there was some decent size holes, but quite a decent crowd there. There was a lot of media attention built up towards the game and after the game and since. And look, that was the objective of this. Acknowledgement, widespread acknowledgement by the media that the boycott was a success. And so here's a message to all fans from Hamish United. We must stay united, whether or not you agreed with the boycott or not. Everyone did have free choice, and a boycott was not to everyone's taste. But in the past, plenty of supporters have suggested a boycott, and Hamish United and Crossed Hammers listened and delivered. The media have picked up on this protest, and the coverage has been huge and overwhelmingly positive. No West Ham supporter takes any pleasure in staying away from their club, but sometimes silence in the stands speaks louder than any chant. This boycott isn't or wasn't about turning our backs on the team. It was about demanding competent leadership worthy of the badge. We love West Ham too much to watch it be mismanaged any longer. Boycotting Brentford was the hardest decision we've made, but it's the only way left. It was the only way left to show the world that our club deserves better. West Ham was built by working people who stood up for what's right. Boycotting the game was a stand against that same tradition, not against the players, but against the years of incompetence and broken promises from the top. Well played, everyone. Round 2 is behind us. Round 3 is coming up. We're not walking away. We're standing up. West Ham deserves better. So, now, that is the statement. And also, moving on from that, the Manchester United fan group just tweeted Andy Payne and said, massive well done to you and the fan groups for last night. Great coverage and a solid protest. Here's to next week's protest. And also he posted something about a Barcelona game that's had some protesting going on as well that's caused some havoc. So it's spreading. People are realising the fan power is important after all.
Yeah.
No, it is 100%.
Yeah. No, it's definitely spreading, and I think we can touch upon that in a minute.
I was one of the ones that went last night, I have to say. I know I messaged you, Gary, that
you had a very good reason for it, though, Pete, didn't you?
Yeah. So
you've been trying to convert your kid from Chelsea.
Yeah, he's
that's fine.
But did it work? But did it work though, Pete? That's the thing. I mean, Christ almighty, you chose the bad game for that, didn't you?
It was the worst game for it. I think after about 45 minutes, he was like, "This is crap. Can we go?" And then
can you drive me to Stamford Bridge?
Well, I moved and went and sat with Phil, and we were talking about the first half, and the whole way through the conversation, he's just tapping me, going, come on. And I managed to get to about 75 minutes. And then he was like, he had the zipper over his head and was sat there with his arms crossed. And I was like, right, well, I'm not bringing you again then if this is the way you behave.
Yeah.
But I don't know who wanted to actually leave more, me or him by that point.
I think a lot of fans were leaving by that point, weren't they? I mean, certainly from watching it on TV, it looked like, fans were leaving in their droves come probably around about the 70th minute. They just seemed to be walking out. Because I think it also got to a point where, like, genuinely, it just did not look like we were going to even get a shot on goal, let alone score. That's what it kind of seemed like to me. And we'll talk about this in a minute, right? But I mean, Christ almighty, I can understand why people left. I think we could have played for a couple more hours and I don't think we would have scored a goal. I really don't.
It was appalling. It was appalling. I mean, literally, we did not hurt them. We had one shot on target in 90 minutes that's a struggling team. Brentford are a struggling team. They literally played us off the pitch. We couldn't have complained if they slaughtered us. If it would go easily 4 or 5-0 last night, right?
Yeah,
it could have been 4 or 5-0 at half time.
Yeah,
The amount of chances that they had, the amount of times you were sitting there thinking, God, how did they not score that?
Yeah.
Our defending in that first half was absolutely shameful. But I mean, I just want to quickly just go back to the boycott a little bit. I've got no issue with. I've seen some people who have today come and said, "Oh, the reason that we lost is because people were boycotting." And I won't judge anyone for going to the game. It was a completely free choice. We didn't need everyone to boycott. We didn't need thousands and thousands to boycott. We just needed people to know that people were boycotting and enough people to boycott for people to talk about. And that's exactly what happened.
Yes.
And when it comes to the result, that result was happening no matter what. The starting lineup still would have been exactly the same. The substitution still would have been exactly the same. And that amount of the lack of passion, the lack of motivation, the lack of energy in that side, that is evidence of performances that we have been seeing, not just this season, but last season as well. It was probably the worst that we have seen in a very long time. But it still would have ended exactly the same way.
It's like a wake-up call, though. It was like smack in the face. It's like, what are you thinking? Tipping West Ham to win, Gary, all the time, because it just ain't going to happen. We are as bad as I actually thought we were. I've been in denial. I'm naturally an optimist, but I've been in denial all this season. I thought Nuno would pick the right team, like the Arsenal team last night, and I thought we'd make a go of it, make a game of it. I never in a million years thought he'd select a crazy team like that.
I don't think anyone saw that team coming.
So we've obviously I've just come off the back of doing a podcast where we've had a bit of therapy session and talked it through, and we can only speculate as to certain things. We're not privy to this information, but we tried to come up with some reasons of why he picked that lineup. And one decent suggestion was that probably that team that started were the players that he has worked with for the last 2 weeks, whilst the others were on international duty.
Yeah.
Now we even looked at the Scholes as right back, Walker Peters as left back. Maybe they worked on the inverted thing in that training session. We don't know, but I'm just trying to look at it from a why would somebody do that? Because you don't want to use the word sabotage, but you have to come up with a reason why he's done that, and that's the only reason that we can come up with is that those are the players we've been working with for those 2 weeks.
The thing is though, Pete, when you talk about that, right? When you talk about the fact that you talk about international break, right? So he had essentially 2 weeks to work with those players, and a number of players that obviously weren't around, he couldn't do that with. So maybe he stuck with what he was working with, right? So that was my kind of logic. That's how I wanted to kind of look at this, right? Before the start of the game yesterday. But that being said, Paqueta was on international duty, A number of our other players were on international duty. Yeah, but Jared Bowen, Thomas Souček, they were all on international duty. So I don't really buy that. That's the thing. I mean, you can use that as a possible excuse or reason, but it doesn't make any sense to me.
They had a couple of extra days off as well. A couple of extra days to recover because they didn't play till the Monday. So I don't think that is an excuse whatsoever. If they come back with a niggling injury, or they come back really late and they were tired, or there was an actual physical reason why, then I might understand it. But it didn't look that way because Wan-Bissaka, Juve, they came on in the second half and they looked fine. They looked.
Yeah, but I don't know whether. I'm just speculating. I try and look at positive things.
No,
because otherwise I wouldn't bother going anymore. I've got to have something to look forward to.
No. I totally agree, and I do agree that probably was the reason. I just don't agree with the fact that he did it.
And he tried to rectify at half time, right? I mean, he brought on to do 3 defensive changes at half time shows that he wasn't happy and it didn't work. It failed.
Yeah, he got it.
It was obvious, wasn't it? It was kind of obvious.
But when it comes to Scholes as a right back and Peters as a left back, apparently Brentford have been playing with inverted wingers, and the idea was if you've got an inverted winger cutting in on his right, if you've got a right footer on the left wing, they will be better placed to be able to handle that, and the same on the left. And I think apparently that was the idea. But it just didn't work.
Alex, I've got to stop you there, Alex, right? Because I get what you're saying, but then when you look at the players we're up against, okay, you look at Sade, for instance, he was incredibly effective against us last season. He scored against us last season as well. We know what he possesses. He's got pace and abundance. He likes to take on the fullback. So surely it would make sense to play someone like Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who we know is incredibly good, in 1v1s against a winger. So, and he's got the experience, but to then play a left back that from my liking, I don't think he's ever played right back before. I might be wrong here.
No.
It makes no logical sense to me whatsoever. It really does.
Can I just interrupt a minute? Rex, the Barca protest tonight. So Barca apparently being sponsored by Uber and sending the local taxi trade into a tailspin. They blocked the roads around the Olympic Stadium. Absolutely brilliant. Now, that's killed the game off, didn't they?
Oh,
that's how to do it. Like in France, where they just block roads and ports. They just set fire to cars and stuff. I'm not suggesting that, but you know what I mean. The French do protest properly, don't they?
No, I think they definitely do, but I think we're still on the clown idea still at the moment. We
are, and that was Rex's as well. So he's obviously a big time protester, right?
Yeah, he was, really. He was.
Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
Sorry, go back to the I was given an explanation as to why that was chosen. Again, I did not agree with it. I highly criticised it. I thought it was the wrong choice completely. We should decide Wan-Bissaka. So I completely agree with you. I was just trying to give an explanation as to why
they were saying
chose to do that, basically because he thought that Brentford were playing with inverted wingers, which means they were going to cut in on their right, so having a right foot on the left would make more sense. I don't agree with it, but I think that was his thinking. Apparently, I've heard a couple of people also say very similar things as well. But totally agree. I think Wan-Bissaka should have started. He is a best defender, and Juve should have started as well.
I think regardless of who he started in the fullback positions, that wasn't our weakest area yesterday. It was quite clearly centre back and also across our central midfield area. All right. So again, you're gonna got to question why Todibo, when he's barely played, when he's barely kicked the ball this season so far, over Mavropanos, who arguably has been, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Gal, I can't, been our best defender this season, right? Which goes to show how weak we are at centre half.
Quite funny in the pub last night. Neil didn't get his second name, but Neil, who watches the shows, leaves comments. Agrees with me sometimes, he said. Quite a funny bloke. And so we were sitting there and he was behind us. And Mavropanos was going off. And I said, oh, you know, our best defender's got to go off. And he said, yeah, and even he's not very good. So it's just like voice from the deep. But it's true, isn't it? We're just getting by with average.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are getting by. I mean, he has arguably been our best defender this season. I will say that. But yeah, I was devastated when I saw him go off. He had to crawl off the pitch, bless him. Yeah,
like you. Yeah, like you. I mean, magnificent is not a word I use loosely. Is it, Chris?
No, never. You've never used it ever. I mean, it's the first time I've heard it tonight. But no, you're right. You're right.
Magnificent.
It's a real. I genuinely can't believe I'm saying it, but it's a real loss to us. I mean, could you imagine us saying this last season? But it's a real loss to us, and I think the obvious concern here, guys, is the fact that we've now got a default centre back pairing of Todibo and Kilman. Like, who else do we play?
Brighton's fifth choice.
He wasn't even on the bench last night, was he?
No, he didn't. He didn't make the bench last night. They could play. Magassa has played centre back.
Oh, is he?
I know. Yeah, he has played centre back previously. Okay. So, I mean, if desperate times.
I think we're kind of close to those desperate times. In fairness, right? I mean, if we play anything like we did last night against Leeds on Friday, we might need to be looking at drafting in, Magassa playing at centre half, because that really, really worries me. And I'm hopeful that he's going to sort out that fullback problem, because it was clearly a problem. He cannot be doing that against Leeds on Friday, can he? I mean, if he does, we're going to get our asses handed to us. And I think we will anyway, by the way. But I think we're just going to make it a lot more difficult for ourselves if we do something like that.
Well, if they're up for it, which is more than likely, given it's going to be a game under the lights road, then...
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem this season. Everyone has been more hungry against us.
Yeah. We would have to turn up here with our A game. So far, I don't think we've seen D, E, F, G game, maybe. I don't know. I don't think we've got that high.
Is there an A game, though? Is there an A game? Because I was just like, I started looking at the squad last night and picking out how many players I genuinely knew were Premiership class, Premier League class. I could
that was my takeaway, Gary. That was my takeaway from your Sky Sports thing earlier on. Was people
I could only find about 5 or 6. Yeah, about 5 or 6. That's it. Yeah, there's literally no one else that I can absolutely nail my colours and say he definitely is Premier League class.
Yeah, 100%.
It is really difficult. There's a lot of players that are very much underperforming at the moment. I think we do have players that have got quality. I mean, you look at Paquetá, for example. We know what a fantastic player that he could be, but he's just very much underperforming at the moment. And if you had players who can play to the best, if we've got enough of those players playing at the top of what they are capable of, then we do have players there that can put together a really good performance. But the problem is they are all very much underperforming at the moment.
Yeah.
And
I think that it's hot and cold with a lot of them, isn't it? It's hot and cold with a lot of them. I mean, Paquetá can be absolutely brilliant one week and tear a team apart, and the next week just not turn up.
But a player like Paquetá shouldn't be playing 3 different positions in one match.
No,
you can't do that.
He's not a false 9.
Yeah, you're wasting him. You're wasting him if you're playing in a false 9 position, And let's talk about this game anyway last night, right? We've kind of touched upon a little bit in terms of our defensive frailties. But where else did this go wrong? I mean, I know it went wrong across the whole flipping pitch, right? Of course it did. But the midfield area, right? Let's talk about the midfield for a start. What's your thoughts on that midfield pairing of Souček and Andy Irvine? I mean, when you saw that lineup come out, we've kind of already addressed the defence and we know what was going wrong there. But that midfield, I mean... Look, Pete, what did you think about that midfield when you saw that lineup? You were at the ground last night. What did you think immediately when you saw that?
I was just getting on the train when I saw the team announced, and I sent a screenshot to Gary saying, like, I don't understand. And I think what makes it even worse is Henderson pretty much bossed that game last night with Damsgaard, absolutely bossed it. And if you look at the Sunderland game earlier in this season, Xhaka was in control of that game as well. If West Ham had signed either one of those players, we probably would have been super pissed at the time. But that is what we talk about, not having a leader. That is the kind of person that we need in there.
But Pete, is that not, I mean, incredibly worrying when you consider the two players that you've called out there that basically dominated against us in midfield are, I mean, Henderson's got to be, what, 35? I'm guessing he's got to be 30, yeah, say 34, 35. You know, I'm sure, well, I forget his name now, fellow over at Sunderland, their midfielder. Xhaka, yeah. So he must be about 32,
34, 35, yeah.
34. Right, so that goes to show how slow we are in midfield, that we're letting players like that dominate the midfield area. And that is a massive concern. So why but why would we? Why would we play two of the slowest midfielders that we've got? Now, I've got nothing against Andy Irvine. I've got nothing against him, right? In actual fact, I quite like him. He's a bit of a cult hero for a weird reason at West Ham. I don't know what, he doesn't play many games, but we love singing about Andy Irvine, don't we? Yeah. But he is arguably one of the slowest midfielders we've got. You pair him alongside Thomas Souček, you know we're going to get overrun. They do not have the legs to cover. So I just did not understand that, particularly when you've got Potsy and you've got Magassa. That for me is a fundamental error. It was glaringly obvious. Now, I think I said to you, Gal, before the game, when I saw that lineup, I said to you, now this is going to be either one of two things. It's going to be a tactical masterclass that I just simply don't understand at this moment in time, or it's going to go completely tits up. And it went tits up, and it didn't surprise me. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I was absolutely fuming with that midfield. Absolutely fuming. He's repeating the mistakes of his predecessors. We saw it under Moyes, we saw it under Lopetegui, we saw it under Graham Potter, who are persisting with a double pivot of two midfielders who are just slow as hell. We've seen it with Souček and Ward-Prowse, Souček and Alvarez, Ward-Prowse and Alvarez. We've been seeing it over the last few seasons. And that is why we brought in these midfielders, Magassa, Fernandes. We brought in Potts into the first team because they're young players who can add energy and add a little bit of pace to that midfield. And none of them got to play in that position. Yes, none of them. Now, I've got no problems if you're going to put like a Souček in there with someone like Fernandes or Magassa, someone who does have that youth and does have that pace, because you know you're counteracting it a little bit. But when you've got two players who both create very little, both have got very little pace, it means you just get easily overrun in that midfield. Easily overrun. But that was my big concern before the game.
But isn't it not questionable as to why we bring in on Guido Rodriguez as well, and we still are not introducing Magassa or Potts, even when we made those substitutions, particularly when we get overrun in midfield? Like, what was that all about?
That I think that was probably one of the decisions that had me most fuming last night when I saw him standing on that line, and I'm thinking, where's Potts? Where's Magassa? Why are we not putting Callum Wilson on? We need a goddamn goal. Why are we taking off Thomas Souček, who, let's be honest, in those kind of situations, you kind of want a Thomas Souček on the field because he is the kind of player who can pop up with the odd goal very late on. So you'd probably be best to keep him on. But for God's sake, stick a striker on. Why has he got against Callum Wilson? I don't get it. Why is he? No. He's looking like he wants to give youth a chance.
He's giving youth a chance, and
Scholes,
stupid, right,
but then he leaves Potts on the bench, who I think is probably the most talented out of the three that we've got, or the most ready to be played in the Premier League out of the three.
Well, he's the one that's got the legs, right? I mean, that's what we lack the most. So you would arguably say we need to get someone who's got a bit of energy, a bit of dynamism in the middle of the park. And out of all of the midfielders that we've got, and I don't know Magassa all too well because I've not seen enough of him, but what I have seen of him so far, I think he's going to need a bit of a period of time to adjust to the Premier League. Potts, for me, I think you're right. I think he's ready, in my opinion. I mean, he's earned his stripes. He's done League One. He's done the Championship, and he's excelled in both divisions. I think he's ready for that step up. But unless we give him a chance, we'll never know. But why would you put on? And even if you're not going to start Potts, why would you not at the very least, bring him on as a substitute instead of a Guido Rodriguez? Because that, for me, makes me think, does Nuno actually realise what he's got at his disposal here? You know, are we completely wrong about, Freddie Potts? Because there seems to be a bit of a divide and a mixed opinion about him. But I do think, from what I've seen of him, that he's got the ingredients to be a good player for West Ham. I don't know if he's going to be an excellent player, but I think he could be a hell of a lot better than what we have had in the middle of the park.
I think the raw materials are there. I don't think it's been finely tuned yet. I think there is a lot of development for him to do, but that's surely what you expected because it's a huge leap. It's a huge gap. between Championship and Premier League. He's excelled in the Championship.
He's certainly got the build for it. If you look at the Skulls, or if you look at Callum Marshall up front, they still look like lightweight kids, whereas Potts does actually look like he's beefed up and he's taken the Declan Rice juice. So he looks like he could handle a bit of physicality in that midfield.
I was going to say that actually. He's got that kind of physique of Declan Rice. Actually, very, very similar, and also in terms of the way that he runs. Interesting.
He runs exactly like him. Gets stuck in as well. He gets stuck in. He's not backward in coming forward. I like that. He makes up his mind. He can pass quickly. He can receive a pass in tight areas. I think Magassa was brought in, and he's clearly just not ready for the Premier League yet. It's going to take a while. He needs to be gently introduced. He's one for later. He might get to play some games at centre half now, please God. But I'm telling you, every manager that comes into this club, for some reason, we end up with this squad seniority thing, where kids are pushed further and further down the pecking order and the old guard come back. And I don't know why it happens, but it's repeated manager after manager.
And it never works. It never works. It's like rinse and repeat. Same end result every single time.
I mean, I don't, it must be something in training. They must be showing something in training that makes all these managers think that they are a good choice to come in. But
I don't buy it. I don't buy that. You know,
no,
I don't either, because you can look at them in training. I mean, you can look at the training, but just look at how they've been playing actually in the Premier League, right? There's been enough examples of this now, whether it's been under Potter or Lopetegui. We know what those players bring to the team. So surely Nuno would see that as well. He would have done his research on some of these players to think, I'm not actually going to play them in the first team. I need to change it up, and I need to play different personnel in there. That's what I don't understand.
He has done that. I mean, he's completely dropped Ward-Prowse. Ward-Prowse is nowhere to be seen anymore. Callum Wilson gets on the bench, but he doesn't get a sniff anywhere. So he's only got players that he doesn't
Sorry to interject there, Alex, right? I've just got to say this point. I hear what you're saying about the Ward-Prowse thing, and yes, he did drop Ward-Prowse, but he's effectively replaced Ward-Prowse with Andy Irvine, who's equally as slow as Ward-Prowse. So he's still not addressing that problem that we have, which is the lack of legs, the lack of pace, the lack of energy in the middle of the park.
Well, so I'm not being unfair. Ward-Prowse is a better player than Andy Irvine, right? They're both slow players. If you put them side by side, Ward-Prowse is a better player. That's what I think.
Well, he was a better player. He was a better player. I think Andy Irvine's got a good pass on him. I'll give him that. He pinged a few decent passes last night, but other than that, I don't think that he has the pace for me to be an accomplished central midfield player in the Premier League in today's day and age. Right?
No.
It just simply isn't.
What do you think about this for a reason that Callum Wilson won't play? See, I think that's what this is, and this is something that was whispered to me in the pub last night, is that we're 200 million plus in debt, something I've been alluding to for the last couple of weeks. That is why we need to sell to buy in January, because we're in a load of trouble money-wise.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about that? Because Pete, what do you think about that comment about what Andy Goldstein said about
I mean, if you label it with the chairman and how West Ham are financially, you could sort of swallow it. But I think if he plays and he scores, that only fires us up the table. I mean, if we're not playing him, you'd rather stay up and pay him 80 grand or 100 grand or 120 grand a week and stay in the Premier League than get relegated and not score goals in a game. So I'll take that with a pinch of salt, that one.
I like to think Nuno wouldn't be taking orders for like that for what to do with his players, but you never know with these managers. You never know how much control. I heard this thing the other week, which really troubled me because I'd never heard anything like it before. I can't remember what club it was at, but the manager submitted his team sheet. Then he got a message from the chairman to change it. I've never heard of anything like that.
I've heard it. I think it happens. I think that happens, Gal. It does happen at some clubs, and it has happened in the past historically as well.
I wouldn't rule it out here, though. I wouldn't rule it out here. Why do we keep having the same fucking players play all the time?
Well, with all due respect, right, Callum Marshall is a youngster. He's unproven in the Premier League, right? And we needed to get something out of that game last night. If you want to get something out of that game, you need to play an individual, i.e. someone like Callum Wilson, who is tried and tested in the Premier League. We know that he can score a goal. Yes, we know he's not the same Callum Wilson from 3-4 years ago. Yeah. But we do know that he's got the ability to score a goal. So that doesn't make any sense to me why you play Callum Marshall over Callum Wilson. I don't get that whatsoever. No. And for me, I got to tell you, I actually think there might be some truth in that. Because if we are as skint as you say we are, Gal, and apparently, I mean, we publicly put it out there that we're basically, completely brassic. Well, 90 odd grand just to play Callum Wilson and put him on as a sub.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money.
See, one, I think the figures that are bounded around about how much we actually pay Callum Wilson to play, I think have been massively over-exaggerated. Massively over-exaggerated. You've got to take that into account. Two, we know that the ownership of this club always tell a few porcupines when it comes to the actual finances of the club. And we know that there are certain things that they can do, like investment, to be able to avoid certain situations. Now, I don't know if we're going to be in £200 million worth of debt. That is not really like the big issue when it comes to football clubs, because nearly every single football club is in debt.
As long as you stay up. As long as you stay up, Alex.
It's about being able to. Debt is fine, but as long as you're able to meet the payments that you are having to pay. It's simple. Yeah. That's simple math when it comes to debt. It's absolutely fine being in debt. That is not a problem. The things that West Ham have to worry about as a football club is not the debt, it's the revenue and the losses that we make every single season. And when it comes to that, that's the PSR, and they're the things that I question. But it wouldn't really worry me if it come out and said, West Ham are £200 million in debt. Well, one, I would ask, how the hell are we in £200 million worth of debt? Because I don't think we've been making anywhere close to that kind of losses. And we significantly cut down the wage budget in summer.
But it's pretty easy to work out how it would have happened over a number of years, because this started with borrowing against future Premier League revenue, borrowing against next year's, against future revenue. It started a few years ago, and they've carried on doing it. And and when you do that, you need a certain degree of consistency. Your purchases have got to be good, because otherwise you have to keep fixing the problems. And what we've done basically in the last 2 seasons is 2 rebuilds, expensive rebuilds, plus several rebuilds before that as well. All of these have been like bubble expenses, haven't they? They're not kind of normal. It's not normal business as usual stuff. It's exceptional costs that's come in because, look, we've got a massive problem. The squad's too old. We're bringing in Lopetegui, a manager who plays a different style. We need a load of new players. Bringing Potter in, who plays a different style. He needs a load of new players. And
that's a really good point you've made there, Gary. You think about Everton in a similar way. They did it when they had Roberto Martinez. They wanted attractive football after Moyes, so they gave him money to overhaul the squad. Then when that failed, they brought in Sam Allardyce, I think, who wanted to fill the team with 6'4" beasts. Then they got rid of him and brought in another manager who wanted to play a different style of football. And they had all this deadwood and all this money that had been spent. And now what we've got is we've got 3 different managers, players over an 18-month period, and you can't fit them all together.
Yeah. And also players that we're taking a loss on constantly. You know, the amount of money that we've lost, you know, when you're paying these overinflated transfer fees is just unbelievable. I can't think of many other clubs, if any, that make such a loss in terms of the players that they brought in and then try and sell maybe a couple of years later. Our resale value is pathetic. I think, honestly, I can't remember the last time we made a profit on a player. I can't. Yeah. I think, did you not tell me before, Gal? It was Jordan Hugo or something. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I think we actually made a profit on loan fees because we loaned him out so many times. We actually, we made a profit on him.
We made a profit on Kudos, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We made a profit on Kudos. Yeah. We obviously made a massive profit on Declan Rice.
Yeah, but I'm talking about players that we've actually bought him, though. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but that was about it, really. I mean, you look at
like. We just let Anderson, 2-3 million we sold him for. Felipe Anderson, 2-3 million. Sebastian Haller, we lost a load of. I can't remember how much money we lost on him. Scamacca, we lost a load of money on him as well. I mean, you can reel off so many players we've made a loss on. And if you look at the squad that we have right now and the players that potentially we're trying to get rid of, James Ward-Prowse, we can guarantee we're going to take a loss on him, quite a significant loss on him, because he's worth nowhere near the amount of money that we paid for him. To Debo as well. I mean, 35 million. You know, here's a scary stat, and I was looking at this earlier on, right? So you look at our 2 centre-halves. You've got, our 2 starting centre-halves at the moment in Todibo and Kilman. The combined transfer fees of both of those 2 players is 75 million, I think, approximately 75 million.
Yeah.
If you look at the cost of Saliba and Gabriel, arguably 2 of the best centre-halves in the Premier League, their combined cost was 54 million. Now, that might have been a couple of seasons ago, whatever, right? But the reality remains the same, is that we are paying overinflated prices for average players again and again and again. And I don't know when it's going to stop. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all why we would spend that much money. You look at what Look at Bournemouth, for instance. Did they not lose probably around about 75% of their defence this season? In addition to the fact they lost Ouattara, who they sold to Brentford, but they've still
They absorb it.
Yeah, but they've still got change in their pocket. Do you know what I mean? From the money that they sold those players on, they brought a ton of players in, and they've still got money in their back pocket. It's unbelievable.
It's because they're well-run football clubs. They're well-run football clubs, and we are so poorly run. We do not have a transfer plan. We don't even have a long-term plan. You come to our transfer windows, they always looked very, very poorly managed. I mean, we just look at that Lopetegui one. That rebuild that we did last summer. You had a whole bunch of players that were supposedly Tim Snyder's. There was definitely some that come from Sullivan. There was definitely some that come from Lopetegui. And there was just no clear transfer plan whatsoever. I mean, you look at the striker. We're after John Duran for the majority of the summer, a young, prolific, pacey striker. We can't get him over the line, so our backup is Nicholas Fulcrook, who is 10 years older and completely different profile.
This is the way I heard that story, right? And that was, he didn't really bid properly for Duran. He put in a bid that was 3 million below the asking price, and it wasn't even an official bid. Villa laughed at it and said, "What are you doing?" Next thing you know, because Salthouse wanted to sell him Somerville, and Somerville turns out is a good player, but at the time we didn't really need Somerville. We needed a striker. He wanted to buy Somerville for 20 million, and so he said, "Start and go and find a cheaper striker." That's how we ended up with Fulkrug, apparently.
Yeah, but it's the profile, the profile of the first striker, Duran, young, pacey.
Oh, yeah. Totally different.
Totally different profile. That just shows that there's no transfer. There's no plan there whatsoever. Because if you're going to look to go and find a cheaper striker, you go and look one at the same profile as the more expensive striker that you want to come in and fit into your squad.
Yeah, it's not the only one that's available, basically.
Yeah.
If we were Bournemouth,
that's just the history of West Ham.
If we were Bournemouth or Brighton and we won that Conference League, we would have already had Declan Rice's successor lined up. There would have been no great announcement. There would have been agreement with a team to take him for absolute top dollar, probably more than 105 million. It would have happened all very quietly, and his replacement would have come in the back door. What happened instead?
I think Aston Villa did something similar with their crown jewel, didn't they? They actually signed their 3 players before they got the Grealish money, so that people didn't know how much money they had to play with, because otherwise they add on that extra tax, don't they?
Yeah.
If they know you've got 105 million or whatever you've got in your pocket, every player that's worth 20 million is worth 35 million. So they did their business before they sold him, and we should have done that as well.
I think your point around John Duran, Alex, right? It kind of frustrates me, because that was exactly the type of profile of striker that we needed, right? And the annoying thing about this is, you look at what we signed that summer as well. So you talk about Nicholas Fulcrook. Now, I don't know exactly what his transfer fee was, but let's say arguably it was somewhere between, I don't know, 18 to 20 million, something like it. It might have been less. I don't know, with add-ons, whatever.
I think it was reported at 27, but it was actually a lot less. It was around 18.
So let's look. So you've got Nicholas Fulcrook costing us that much, and then you've got someone like Guilherme, who's barely had a look in, right? He doesn't look like he's good enough, in my opinion. I want to be wrong on this, but he doesn't look like he's good enough. We needed players that were ready to go, right? Plug and play, get him in the first team. So you look at the combined transfer fees of some of those players that we signed in that window. Why on earth did we not just shell that out on a striker? Why are we spending? And also, when you look at Guilherme as well, as an example, he's a right winger. We've got Jared Bowen, and we had Mohamed Kudus when we signed Guilherme, right? Where's the logic in making some of these signings? It doesn't. This is the problem with our transfer policy. None of it makes sense. It's almost like, oh, this kid he's a good prospect. Let's get him in. Oh, have we got covering that position already? Oh no, we've already got a player that plays that position. Oh, it doesn't matter. We'll bring him in anyway. And there is no structured approach. There's no strategic vision in terms of the right types of players for the right positions. It's so scattergun. It's scary. It's just beyond me, and this is why I worry about January. This comment here is a common misconception, because at the time we did not need Somerville. That wasn't a position we were all craving to fill. We wanted him because he's a good player, and it turned out he was a good player, but he wasn't fit for purpose when he turned up. He was a lightweight. It took him a season to put on the weight and start looking, like he does now. I'm still suspicious of his final ball, by the way.
I would actually argue that we did need a left winger. Yeah. We did need a left winger.
He's all we signed was left wingers that weren't left wingers.
Yeah, but
well, we only had Paqueta though. We're only playing Paqueta on the left hand side. Or if we weren't playing Paqueta on the left hand side, we're playing Kudus in an unorthodox position on the left hand side. Exactly. So I'm kind of in agreement. I think we did need a left winger, but there were other priority positions.
Did we need it more than a striker? Is my point.
Yeah, we didn't need Guilherme.
No,
I would argue that
we
didn't need a Guilherme, and I don't know what's going on with him. Sometimes he comes on, and I think he looks really bright, and I think he's got a future. Yeah. We do also have to remember he's still only 19 years old, and not all 19-year-olds that play in the Premier League are going to be ready. So I still think there is a player there, and I actually think that he will prove to be a decent footballer. I don't think he's going to go on to be like world class or anything like that, but I think he'll be a decent footballer. But at the moment, he's not getting any game time and he's not getting any chances. So until he does, we're not going to really see that. But he wasn't the player that we needed that summer. He definitely wasn't. I don't get why we didn't spend that money on a striker. I don't know.
I don't think.
But he came in very early, didn't he?
To be honest, I got a question for all of you and for you guys in the audience, and that is, I was having this conversation in the pub last night. I don't know why we keep going and trying to sign superstar centre halves. Why do we spend all that money on superstar centre halves? Surely it's better to go for bread and butter centre halves from the Championship. You know, it's a rules-based position where you ain't got to open up another team using your individual talent. You've got to have good anticipation. You've got to be dominant. You've got to be a leader. We've managed to sign two centre halves that are uniquely. I mean, both of them can't head a ball. Neither of them can lead. I'm pretty sure you could buy some real nasty bastards for not very much money at the Championship, and they'd be better than these two.
I don't think that would be hard, though, Gal. I don't think that would be hard to find an improvement in the Championship, particularly particularly in comparison to. I mean, for me, like Todibo is woeful, but Kilman, I'm just not a fan. I've seen enough of him now to kind of rule him out as a player for us. I don't think he's mobile enough. I think he's slow. You know, when you look at that game again yesterday, right? Every single time we called this out. I think when we were on we did a live the other day, Alex, right? We were talking about this Brentford game. We know they like to play direct. They were whacking that ball, hoofing that ball, and every time they did that, I was shitting myself. I was petrified because ultimately it led to a chance for them. Pretty much every single time. It was so worrying, like the way they would just basically ping these 30, 40, 50-yard balls, and bang, they're in. And Kilman's anticipation and awareness is absolutely pathetic.
Did we sign him from the Championship? Did we sign him for the Championship? Was that the season they went up? I thought we signed him for the Premier League.
No, we signed for Wolves. He was in the Premier. We signed for Wolves.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, though. Right, okay.
No, but when it comes to Kilman, there's two attributes of Kilman's game that I do like. And his ability on the ball, very good at passing, and his ability to drive forward, which has always made me think maybe we should just stick him in midfield because we need someone who can drive forward in midfield and then we use someone else in defence.
We're missing that beast in defence, right? Kilman, when he played at Wolves, had a Connor Cody next to him. We're missing our James Collins. We're missing our Ogbonna. We're missing somebody who will absolutely clatter people and header everything that comes in that box.
Craig Dawson's still available on a free. Craig Dawson's available right now.
He's better than what we've got. He's better than what we've got for sure.
We've got about 10 or 11 matches till January, and you know that West Ham aren't going to be ready on the January the 1st to sign anyone anyway. It's going to be the 31st of January, a couple of loans, and it's going to be too late. I'm really concerned.
We can come on to that. We can come on to that in a minute, right? Because that is one thing that I did want to address this evening for sure. Because, as you said, like 11, 12 games, maybe even more. Bearing in mind, we're not going to sign someone on the 1st or the 2nd or the 3rd of January. That's highly unlikely. That's not the way we operate. So you're talking probably maybe 13, possibly even 14 games before we start getting new blood in. That is a major worry, particularly when you factor in, potential injuries, which I think basically potential is probably inevitable. We saw one last night. If we have another one, we are completely and utterly screwed. We really are. So I don't know. And we can talk about the future and we can talk about the next couple of months and how that's going to play out, right? But let's just kind of finish off this Brentford game last night. Any positives to take out of it? I know it might sound a bit stupid, but genuinely, any positives?
I didn't go to the game. I watched it in the pub, then drove home afterwards. Didn't have to walk down the canal.
The positive is that team will not start on Friday.
Yeah.
He's tried something, it hasn't worked, and hopefully he will go back to the lineup that played against Everton and Arsenal.
What do you
think,
Alex?
As much as planned without Mav.
I mean, my positive was going to be Gary's positive that I wasn't there. I wasn't in the pub, I was at home.
Yeah.
If I had to try and find one positive in the game, I think Somerville, I like Somerville's energy. I like how he does. He's not afraid to take people on. I think we just need his end product needs work, but I still think that he is possibly the bright spark or one of the hopes that we do have this season. So I think he gave it all yesterday.
Do you not think though, when you look at that game, when you look at that game last night, okay, and we were so void of ideas, particularly when it came to trying to attack the opponent, it seemed to me that the only focus that we had was get the ball to Somerville or get the ball to Bowen. That was it. I don't know what our plan was. Get it to one of them two, and hopefully, fingers crossed, something will happen. But actually, Somerville was the only one that was trying to progress, to take that ball forward into the final third. He was. But to Gary's point, I would agree with you. The only slight concern I've got on Somerville, and this might be proven wrong a little bit later on down the line, is his end product, because there doesn't seem to be much of an end product with him. I do get excited when he runs with the ball. He's fast. He's got good dribbling skills. You love it when you've got a winger trying to take on a fullback.
Oh, he's definitely got my favourite. It's my favourite thing in football.
Yeah, he's got that in abundance, but you want there to be a bit of an end product, right? That's what we're missing. Whereas funny, because when you look at, conversely, Jared Bowen on the right-hand side, he's not fast. He's typically not a winger that takes on the fullback, but he has the end product. It would be amazing if we had someone else that has that end product along with the pace and the skill to take on a fullback. So it seemed to me that our reliance was purely on Somerville, maybe conjuring up a bit of magic, maybe Bowen getting a half chance and scoring a goal. And that was it. And Paqueta, really, they used him as kind of like the hold-up man, didn't they? Which he's not very good at. He's just simply not very good at it. So I just
especially
up
against the defenders as big as the Brentford defenders. I mean, they just completely dominated him yesterday. Any time a ball went forward, you do need a strong striker to be able to compete with defenders like that. And Paqueta,
I felt sorry for him. I felt sorry for him, Alex. I felt sorry for Paqueta because he's playing in positions that aren't, his strength. To play him as a false nine, we've seen it time and time again. It's not the position
all
to play
apart from once, didn't it? I think it worked against Fulham at home last year, but other than that, never worked. Somerville, the only player who looked upset. I don't think so. They all looked distraught, but that's just lack of leadership. You've got to have someone rattling the cages and saying to, stop fucking feeling sorry for yourself, and getting them back. Getting them to wake up. It seems like we've got a lovely group of sensitive boys, but.
Somerville's end product will come. I know it was the championship, but he had end product galore.
He did. You're right.
He did it in the corners every single match, so it will come.
Yeah, I'm confident it will as well.
Yeah.
Could I just go ask, what did people think about Nuno's comments after the game where he said that?
What did you hear? What did you hear?
No, it was in his post-match interview. He said, obviously, the fans are very upset at the moment. We think this does translate to the players. It causes a little bit of anxiety. And, we understand that. But it's up to us. He said, it's up to us now to get the fans back on side.
Yeah.
He always says the right thing, doesn't he? He always says the right thing, but I don't like the comments about it makes them anxious. That makes me a little bit...
But he backtracked, didn't he? That comment, because I'm with you, Alex. I watched that last night as well. As soon as he said that, I just grabbed onto that straight. I was like, hold up a minute. So the fans because the fans are worried, that's making the players anxious on the pitch, was what I kind of got from that. But then he kind of backtracked and said, but it's up to us players to then create something for the fans to shout about and have more positivity. So he kind of almost went back on what he said, but Is it really making that much of a difference, right? Because I've got to tell you, I thought last night, I know it's a bit of a hostile environment to play, particularly when you take into account that it was a little bit more emptier. It was definitely even more quieter than typically is at London Stadium, which is saying something. Does it really impact the players that much? I mean, I don't know the answer to that, is the truth. I don't know the answer to it, but surely
I don't think that's
that much.
Yeah, I think that's more of the question there. It's not whether it is or not, it's whether it should or not. These are professional footballers at the end of the day.
But they're human beings as well, though, Alex, right? That's the thing. They are human beings. Regardless of what they're being paid, they are human beings.
Yeah.
Yes, they are human beings. I totally get that. And
I blame Potter for this. I blame him for a lot. But one thing I really blame him for is getting rid of every tiny bit of leadership there was in that dressing room. Because there was no reason to get rid of Cresswell, who led that defence for a period last season. There was no reason really to get rid of Vlad, who played quite well at the end. It wouldn't have cost very much to keep him on for another season. Why did he have to flush out every single character in that dressing room? Was it just because he was such an afraid leader himself that he wanted all the big characters so he would then become the big character? You know what I mean? By default.
Yeah. I don't know.
Where's Chris gone? He's hosting this show.
Cresswell is now, and I know again it's the Championship, but Cresswell is leading Stoke up the table. They're third. He's spearheading that return to the Premier League, and that's what we're missing. We're missing those characters, those big voices, those leaders.
What was the reason for getting rid of him? Because you think back to Zuma, his knees were shot to pieces, right? That wasn't the case with Cresswell. He was fit as a fiddle. He just lacked a bit of pace. And then when you put him as the left side of the three, he was actually all right.
Yeah, decent.
Yeah,
I think it was just moving him out at the end of his contracts because he wasn't going to get a lot. They didn't think he was going to get a lot of game time. He probably was on a fair amount of money, so it probably was a money saving. Something to do with money saving as well. That's not the case for Vlad though, because he was one of the lowest paid players in the squad when he left.
Yes,
and he's got that. He's actually scored a goal since he's left us, and I think he got an assist at the weekend as well. Still doing a job down that right wing. And I still think he would have been a player that could still do a job. I know he's lost his legs a little bit, and you could go and look at where he's playing now because I think he's playing in Germany, which we know that the European leagues are a lot slower than the Premier League. That is just one thing that is always noted by any players that come to the Premier League. They know how fast the Premier League is compared to other leagues. And that's why you look at Italy at the moment and you look at Napoli specifically and some of the players that go over there, it is like an old age home in Italy, but some of these players are looking like they're looking like they're 10 years younger compared to when they were playing in the Premier League.
They're living in a nice sunny place, and they're also very, very disciplined, those players, and very tactically astute, the Italians, aren't they?
Yeah. So it's different leagues, different players work in different leagues, but I still question why we got rid of some of the leaders because we have very little leaders to begin with. I love Bowen. We all adore Bowen. Yes. We do. I've always said that Bowen would be a fantastic captain for a team that's doing well. You know, if we're doing well and we're winning a lot of the weeks, it's great to have a captain like that. But when you're on that down in the mud, I'm just not sure if he is the right, if he's the captain that we need right now.
I think you're right.
Job. It's a tough first gig as a captain for him to walk into to try and captain a struggling team. It was basically a get out by Loppy to try and get the fans on side. In my view, I don't think it's done Bowen any favours at all, and it's definitely not done us any favours because you can't take it away from him.
No, well, I don't think it's affected his level of performance over the course of the last year.
It did to start with, though, didn't it? It did to start with.
If you look over the course of the last season, I mean, he's got incredibly impressive stats, right? So I don't think it's impacted him in that sense. But I agree with you, Alex, in some respects, because I think that he probably is the type of leader that would lead by example in terms of his performances on the pitch. And if the team aren't doing well, then he's not doing well as a captain. But he's not the type of captain that can rally the troops. And that's my issue with what we've got, or more to the point, what we lack at West Ham is we don't have anyone, in my opinion, that can rally the troops, that really can get everyone pulling in the same direction. And I think that really does need to be addressed. I mean, I would be more inclined to bring in maybe someone who is a little bit older, who's a bit more tenured and experienced of playing in the Premier League, understands what it's about, who's got a fucking mouth on them. You know, that can start basically barking orders to players and getting on side. Because for me at the moment, you know, that team, I think someone just said just now that some of these players yesterday, they all kind of, they looked upset. I didn't see enough of that. I didn't look upset enough. Yeah. I think we're void of fight, desire, determination. You know, collectively as a team, we are. There are a few players that are performing, but that's no good because if you've got, say, 4 or 5 players, which by the way, I don't even think we had 4 or 5 players that performed particularly well last night. But even if you've only got 4 or 5 and the rest aren't, then we're going to lose that game. We need everyone. We need 95% of our players. We need 90% of that team to all be out there working their bollocks off. But I don't think that we have that right now. I don't. No, there were moments yesterday, Gary, right? We talk about Bowen. There was a moment yesterday when I was watching that game where he was staring at a ball. I can't remember what it was. I think Wan-Bissaka had it and he just stopped and he just watched. I was like, why are you not chasing that? You know, aside from the first 10, 15 minutes of that game yesterday, we pressed in the first 10 minutes. After that, low block, right? It just completely reverted back again.
At one point, it was 80% possession to them. But my point it was when I spoke about the championship style of defender, of centre half, is you're going to get some real nasty bastards down there. You're going to get people because you can put one real, someone who shakes up a dressing room. It only takes one. It only takes one big character to shake up a dressing room and actually wake people up and show some leadership. It's got to be the right kind of person.
And it's what we've always had over the years. If you go back over the years, you look at some of the captains. So you start off with Rice. So you had Noble, very big voice. He was definitely a leader. Yeah, Kevin Nolan, he was a leader. And you go back over the years, you've always got this big character to lead
Lucas
the team.
Neal was a great leader as well.
Lucas Neal. And there's been many others over there. Scott Parker. We go Julian Dix. We go back. It's just been so many over the years, but they're all big characters. And look at that squad now. Which one would you say is that big character? If we got a single person that you would say, is there a big character in that side?
We haven't got one at the moment. I think that's the only way you can take the captaincy away from Bowen is if Nuno brings in his monster and says, this is my guy, because there's nobody else that's currently at the club that can take that responsibility on.
I don't think he can, though. I don't think he can do that, Pete, because the problem with taking away the captaincy from Bowen is that suddenly I think that will impact him. Because Bowen you're taking, goes. I mean, he's the main man for West Ham. Make no mistakes about it. If you take away the captain's armband from him, that is not going to be good for us. I think you can bring in a leader, and you can say, right, you don't actually have to be wearing an armband to be a captain. You can go out and you can still lead the players.
You don't. He can still be the leader, but he can still be the captain. But it doesn't mean you can't have a leader on the pitch. Yeah, you can still have that players. So I don't think anyone is really, when I say that I don't think Bowen is the captain that we need at the moment, what I mean by that is we don't have that player that can.
You're right though, because he's up there on the right-hand side. Yeah, he's up there on the right-hand side when the defence needs a lot of leadership and organisation. Look how much difference Cresswell made when he played in that left side of the back three last year. He was the one that made the difference to that defence.
He was,
and he just needed Scholes outside him to give a little bit of legs.
Yeah, and he also helped Scholes as well. I remember when he was playing with Scholes, constantly giving him advice, constantly talking to him. And I think just having Cresswell around the squad to be able to help with these younger players who are developing, as a player that has come through, not the ranks of West Ham, obviously, but I mean, all these players have, but been at West Ham for so long, understands the club, understands what is required from the players who play for the club. I just think he is definitely a player that I would 100% have tried to keep on. Whether or not he would have stayed on a lesser contract or anything, I don't know. But losing a player like Chris, I think is gutting.
What are Stoke paying him? We could have afforded to match that and do it over 2 years.
Do you know what? I've got a theory on Cresswell, by the way. Sorry to interject there, Alex. So my understanding with Cresswell is that he wanted to move back up north. He wanted to do that for family and personal reasons. That's what I've heard. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's what I've heard.
Dawson had to do that.
Yeah, Dawson did that as well. But from what I understand, Aaron Cresswell did as well.
I think Dawson, one of his kids was not very well as well. I think that had a lot to do with it.
See, I understand that with Dawson because he went proper north. But now you're talking Ipswich. It's hour and a half up the road.
Who's the Ipswich?
That's Cresswell, isn't it? Oh no,
he's
at
Stoke.
He's a Stoke.
He's a Stoke. He's originally he's a Scouser, isn't he? So he's originally from Liverpool.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? I mean, there are so many problems in that team right now. But one thing I did want to bring up tonight was we were talking about the future, and I know it's looking a little bit depressing at this moment in time. Yeah. But look, we've got. I'm looking at this now. So we've got, as I said earlier, we've got 11, 12 games. Maybe 13 games until the window is reopened, right? What are we going to do? I mean, we know what we need to. We know where we've got problems: centre back, central midfield, striker. We know what we need to do, but realistically, what can we do now? I don't know if you guys saw this at all or not, but I did see this evening that apparently Nuno has been given assurances that there will be funds available to sign at least one striker, one midfielder, and one defender. Now, that's all well and good, but this is on the proviso that if they do join West Ham, they're also going to have to join on the basis of decreasing their salary by 50% if we get relegated. So that's going to be written into the contract. Now, that's neither here nor there. A lot of players sign those types of contracts anyway. But the big question really here is, who is going to want to join us? Because we've now got, as I said, 12, 13 games before that window reopens again. You look at that batch of games that we've got between now and January, how many injuries that we're potentially going to pick up, how many results we're going to pick up. Where are we actually going to be in January to be in a position where we can say, come and join West Ham? You're going to want to join West Ham.
The only way we're going to, if we are still in this precarious position come Christmas, which I think is extremely likely, the only way that we're going to be signing players is if we do write into their contract a relegation release clause where they can go for a nominal fee if we are relegated, if they are able to keep us up. I think that will be the only way that we will be able to convince players to come and play for us and get Premier League experience if they have that part in their contract where they can go for a certain fee if we do get relegated. Now, that's not going to be required for all players. There's going to be some players that will want to play and stay. But if you want to sign someone who's going to have an impact, then that's what you're going to have to do. There is also the possibility of the loan market. There will undoubtedly be players that are available on loan. Now, when it comes to loans, we've been very hit and miss over the last few seasons, especially the last couple when it comes to like Evan Ferguson and Calvin Phillips, for example. But if we could pick up someone like a Jesse Lingard, I'm not saying obviously Jesse Lingard, then we do know it's possible to pick players up. But yeah, we do need a central defender. I'm not totally convinced that we are 100% need another midfielder, but I am 100% that we do need another striker.
I think we need a spine, Alex. I think we need a spine because that's what we like.
I think it depends on the defender. If we're just getting in a really good defender, then yeah. If we're getting in a really good defender who is also a leader, then I'm not sure that we would necessarily require a midfielder. Because that is the one thing. But are you going to be able to sign?
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to sign a leader in January?
Yeah, but okay, that's one question. Are we going to be able to sign a leader? And like, I hear you agree with me there. It's nice for someone to agree with me, Peter. But I do think you're right. I think we do. We do need a spine. I mean, you just look at the game yesterday. It's a prime example. I know we weren't playing what would be typically our first 11, but it doesn't matter. Even when we have been playing pretty much our full strength teams, and I know we haven't really been doing it this season, but we still lack that spine. We still lack that strength straight down the middle. We just don't have it. You know, we need a real hard bastard in defence. We need a real hard bastard in midfield, and we need a fucking pacey striker up front that is clinical and can put the ball
and
in
all
the back.
three of them, Chris. All three of them need to have a load of fucking mouth and communicate and teach the other players. The one thing that Henderson brings to the team, by the way, he might not be the fastest player in the world. Geezer don't shut up for 90 minutes.
Yeah. So we kind of know. I think we're in mutual agreement here in terms of what we need to bring into the team. Yeah, but again, it goes back to the question of who can we sign that fits that criteria for what we need? Because long gone are the days, right, of getting a Hartson and a Kitson in, right, where they're going to suddenly solve all of our problems. You get two strikers that are going to score a shit ton of goals and keep us up, right? Those days are gone. I remember it was Hartson, Kitson, Stevie Lomas. We brought them in roughly around the same time. We did well. We stayed up, right? Now, I just, it worries me because I don't know who's available. And when I look at the situation that we're in right now, it kind of brings back memories. And I hate to say it, of the season that we got relegated. Do you remember when we brought Demba Ba in? And you just mentioned about bringing in players on, say, I don't know, nominal fees or players that we can let go for next to nothing if we get relegated. Well, we lost him, right? Yeah. And some of those players that we signed, then we looked at maybe experienced players that can score goals, you know, people like, I don't know, Robbie Keane and all. It just fucking failed miserably. We did it again when we got relegated before. We signed like Les Ferdinand playing up front for us, right? We've had so many examples of this happening over the years.
If you don't score goals, you get relegated. It's as simple as that, right? You can do whatever you want on the rest of the pitch, upgrade here, there, and everywhere. If you're not scoring goals, you're fucked.
But that's the key, though, isn't it, Gal? That's the key. Where are we going to get those goal scorers from? Where are we going to get them from? We can rely to score fucking goals for West Ham. I don't know.
The name that just flashed up, Ivan Toney, he would score goals. You know he would.
He's on £500,000 a week, mate.
What?
He's on £500,000 a week or something stupid, isn't he? I don't even know what his salary is.
The Middle East, he ain't going to be on that here.
Yeah, but would you turn that away? Would you say, do you know what? Forget the £500,000 a week. I'm coming to West Ham for £100,000 a week.
It's in a relegation battle. In a sandstorm. It was horrible.
If he wants a chance to get in the World Cup squad, I think he would be open to.
Yeah, I think that's the key
for
point.
A few months. I do think he would. Whether or not
who do you think, Pete? Who do you think realistically, Pete, we could go for? I mean, if you've got any ideas of certain players that you think we could bring in that could bolster our squad, actually not even bolster our squad, go straight into our first team, because that's what we need, right? We definitely need a striker that goes straight in. Yeah, he would. Unquestionably, he would go straight in our team. He'd probably get injured as well, by the way. But
when you approach these players, then you know whether they've got the interest in it, right? Because we're not going to pay Tony $500,000 a week, but if he wants that England place, which he hasn't got anymore, is he willing to sacrifice those wages to be back in the Premier League and being watched every week? Yeah, that would be a great sign. It'd be a statement signing.
But I'll tell you what, Peter, on that note, right, we're talking about bringing him in. Yes, of course, he wouldn't be on that kind of money coming at West Ham, but if we're struggling to play Callum Wilson, who maybe we have to pay $90,000 a week for, $90,000 an appearance, and then we're talking about Ivan Toney, is that really a realistic target for us?
The biggest question I think that needs to be answered is who's going to be going out, because none of those players had any interest in the summer that we need to offload, and we're going to get minimal for them coming in. We're not going to get decent money for Ward-Prowse. We discussed after the show last week, what money are you going to get in? I mean, Alvarez had to go on loan because nobody wanted to buy him. Your Součeks, you might get Moyes come in with a little bit of money for him. There's Rodriguez. He ain't going to get any money. These are all going to be loan outgoings and loan incomings. That is what we're going to get in your area, I think.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah. I do believe that we're in money trouble. I do not believe we're going to be spending money. Also, by the way, if we don't spend money and Mendes ain't got a budget, it won't be long built until Nuno orchestrates a way out as well, because that is how he works.
It's all jolly, isn't it? It's all positive news. I mean, it's so concerning. And I think, like I've said quite a few times now over the last few weeks, this next month and a half or next 2 months is season defining for us. It is. Yeah. We've effectively played half the season, so we're going to be hitting 19 games going into January, right? Going into the first week of January. If we are still rock bottom, right down there in the bottom with barely any points in addition to, what we're going to accumulate between now and then we're fucked. We are genuinely fucked. I've got to be honest with you. Last night for me, I have never felt so flat after a performance before. And I'm including games where we've been tonked 5-6-0. And I've been there for those games and I felt terrible. But last night, something felt different to me.
There was nothing there last night, Chris. There was nothing.
I felt
there.
empty. I don't know about you, but you were at the game, right? So you must have felt even worse. But I felt absolutely empty. And I felt, I'm to be honest, I didn't get to sleep till 4 o'clock this morning. I'm fucking knackered. And because I think too much about West Ham, I care too much about West Ham, and I was thinking about it. It was on my mind. And I'm really, really worried about this. And I want to be wrong. But I honestly think that we will go down this season. I just don't see how this can be repaired now. And I know we've only played X number of games and there's a load more games to go. But it's this period between now and January, like I've said, that can really make or break our season. And when you look at that squad of players that we've got right now, it's simply not good enough. Gary, you raised a very valid point. And let's bring this up now, because I know we spoke about this earlier. How many players... And in fact, let me. I'll pass it to you. You asked the question, right? We can put it out there.
What one is it? Oh, right.
Yeah, but how many players you would basically, pretty much hang your hat on and say yes?
Yeah. This is a question that goes out to the audience, and everyone in here give an answer as well. So you'll have a couple of seconds to think about it. If you think about the squad that we've got, hand on heart, how many can you absolutely say are Premier League quality? Not might be in the future. How many can you say now? Because now is when we need them. How many of them are Premier League quality? I'm going 6.
Can I just add to that question you've asked as well, Gal? But not only Premier League quality, but Premier League quality that we can depend upon, that we can actually depend upon, because that's also about character. It's about character as well, right? So you've got players in like for instance, Paqueta. I mean, he's been off the ball for a while now. Yes, he's been played out of position.
Well, he's one of my 6, Chris. That's a problem.
Well, that is the problem, right?
Yeah.
So let's do a round table on this, right, Pete? How many players do you think you could rely on that are Premier League quality? Like Gary just said, Premier League quality players that you can rely on, and who are they?
You're probably looking at 5 or 6. So you'd say Bowen. I'd say Somerville. I would say Paquetá. I would be playing, if it was me, I'd be playing Wilson, and I think he is Premier League quality, as long as he stays fit. I'd say Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That's probably about it.
And Diouf as well, right?
You've got to go with
Diouf as well.
Yeah.
I like Diouf.
Well, Diouf, I think is he going to make it? That's the thing, right? He's showing amazing promise, and going forward, he's wonderful. Is he going to be the finisher article? Can I say right now he's a Premier League defender? I don't think I can. But I will give him the benefit of the doubt and say 6.
I've put him in mine. No, I think I'm 7 of 7. I think I'm 7 because
Tell us the ones that we ain't got.
Right, so there's definitely Wan-Bissaka and there's Duke in there. I've got Bowen, Paquetá, Somerville, so that's 5. I've put Matheus Fernandes in there because I do think he is Premier League quality. Wilson, I'm on the fence about. He's Premier League proven. He's always proven. I just don't know if he's got the legs anymore. And I've also put Thomas Soucek in there because I do think he's proven himself. But I just don't think that we use him how we should be using him anymore. I think he's much better as an impact sub who can come on. But I would say that he is still Premier League quality.
Have you discussed the Troy Deeney comments that he said on Sky Sports, where he was saying about if you fill your team with players that are used to losing or have been relegated, there's only one thing that's going to happen.
Yeah, there's another thing as well to build onto that, because I did mention that the other day. But not only have we got only 5 or 6 players, we've also got 2 youngsters in Diouf and Magassa who are just bedding into the Premier League. They're not ready yet. Well, Magassa isn't, right? Diouf more so. But then we've got a load of kids who are kind of unproven, and now is not the time. It's never the time to test them when you're struggling and you look like you're going to get relegated. And on top of that, you've signed 4 players from relegated teams.
Yeah.
It's a madman that put this fucking squad together, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Because those guys, psychologically, they're going to start thinking, oh, it's happening again.
It's a shocking transfer policy. It just is. We need someone who can actually run this football club how it needs to be run. Put in proper procedures, proper plans. Build us an identity. You look at the teams like Brighton and Brentford and Bournemouth. As you said earlier, not only have they got a list of all players that they've got right now, they've got players that they would bring in to replace those players that they've got. They've also got that for managers as well. Brighton have got a list of managers which they update on a regular to replace the managers that they've got. The manager they've got at the moment, they already know who their next manager is going to be. It's probably a choice of 1 or 2 depending on who's available at the time. And they've also got that with players as well. We're not like that. We just identify players. We identify whole tons of players. We'll put in bids for 6 or 7. We'll see which one is more favourable, and then we'll just go with that one. And we'll see if that one works.
This all goes back, Alex. This all goes back to the fundamental reasons why every single West Ham fan, well, pretty much every single West Ham fan right now is pissed off, and that's because of the board. The structure of our recruitment is absolutely abhorrent. It's disgusting. And, you've mentioned a couple of teams there. You look at Bournemouth, you look at Brighton, even Crystal Palace, right? These teams are switched on. They have a contingency plan. They know exactly who they're going to go after. And if they can't get that target, they know their plan B target is going to do maybe equally as good as plan A. We don't seem to have a plan A, let alone a plan B. And that is fundamentally our issue that we have as a club. And it will never change for as long as we've still got those muppets in charge of this football club.
Well, that's because our director of football is David Bloody Sullivan.
Exactly. So this worry, so we're going into a January transfer window, potentially relying on that fucking idiot again. Basically, that's how it feels like to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's and I was talking to a fellow season ticket holder at work today. He went to the game last night. I obviously I didn't, but we were having a discussion and we both agreed that at the moment it's probably the most disillusioned that we can remember feeling in recent times. And I'll say even more so than the 2 times I've seen us get relegated in my lifetime. I can't think of a time where I've just felt so disconnected with the club, so, as I say, disillusioned and so down on it. It just feels so dire at the moment. And I've only ever had a couple of fears in my life before that we were going to get relegated. Most of the time it doesn't happen. But a couple of times it has, but I don't know. This time it just feels inevitable.
It feels real, doesn't
inevitable. Yeah, I've not felt it for the last couple of seasons. I never had a single worry that we were going to go down. Even though I think the reason
really for that, though, Alex, one of the reasons for that though is that there was 3 incredibly weaker teams than us, right? So by default we were staying up because there were weaker teams. But this season it's wide open, and you look at even the newly promoted teams. There's an argument that says that some of those teams won't go down this season, and I think it will be one of the more established teams. And I think that relegation spot has got our name written all over it as it stands right now.
It does.
It has.
I think we've got a couple of hopes. One of them is Wolves. I think they are absolutely dreadful, and they are in a similar mess to us with really poor recruitment.
A
And
team that
they
beat
get-
us, by the way. A team that beat us in the
Yes.
Carabao Cup.
Yes, they did, but they haven't even picked up a win yet this season, so they are still in a poor position. Nottingham Forest, they've just brought in Sean Dyche, and while I do think he is a manager that's going to secure them, I still think they're going to struggle. I actually do think that Brentford are going to struggle
because
for
their
this season.
defenders are
What's that,
so
mate?
strong. Their Forest will be absolutely fine because Sean Dyche plays defensive football and he's got 2 centre backs that are absolute fucking monsters.
Yeah. No, I make you right on that. I think he will. I think he will solidify them. In terms of their defense, and
I don't think they'll score a lot of goals. I don't think they're going to be like really threatening going forward, but I think they're definitely going to be a lot better defensively. They were shocking on the edge.
You look at these games coming up, right? You look at these games coming up. So we've got Newcastle next. Leeds next. Then we've got Newcastle, and then we've got Burnley. Right? Those are the next 3 games that we've got. Now, we had this conversation the other day. I think
9 points.
I've gone completely the other way now, Chris. My optimism for those games after seeing that game, I don't know what to think anymore, other than we ain't going to get any points. We've got to get some points. So I'd say over the period 5 or 6 games, 3 or 4 points. We'll get a win from somewhere, more likely Burnley. I fucking hope so anyway, otherwise we are relegated.
Burnley are no walk. I mean, there are no walkovers.
No, they're not. No one's a
season,
walkover, but it's as big a walkover as you're going to get in this league.
Yeah, I know, but
Gary, we're the fucking walkovers right now. We are the walkovers, not the other teams. We are. Any team that's looking at playing West Ham right now is thinking, do you know what? We play up at the London Stadium. It's not even a fucking home ground for us.
Nah.
You spoke to Charlie, what's his face? Well, I forget his name now. That striker that you spoke to the other day, Charlie Austin, right?
Yeah.
Even he said it when he stepped out on that pitch.
Yeah, I know.
He felt like it wasn't even an away game for him. It was like, because we were so detached. The fans are so detached and so far away from the pitch, as we all know, it doesn't feel that intimidating atmosphere for away and opposing teams anymore. So for any other team looking at West Ham right now, they're rubbing their fucking hands. I'll tell you now, Leeds will be rubbing their hands. All of these teams will be rubbing their hands. I can't wait to play West Ham because I think we get 3 points out of this. We are the walkovers right now.
Especially the ones playing this at home. And let's not forget the last time we played Burnley, they were in. It was the season that they got relegated. They were absolutely terrible that season. They came to us. They were 2-0 up in the first half. We had to come back to draw that game 2-2.
Yeah.
So it's not a given. It's not. I do still think that. No, I don't. I don't think actually.
I thought last night was a given. Don't listen to me. My predictions are shit this year.
I don't know.
Gary, not with that lineup. Not with that lineup.
No.
We weren't expecting that. We even discussed it and said that they're not going to play Paquetá in that false 9 and Souček won't start. We did not see that lineup.
No, we didn't. You're right.
That lineup.
Yeah. I'm going to miss the Leeds game on Friday because I'm going on holiday. I'm going to be on a plane when that game kicks off, and I have no idea if I'm going to be able to watch any of it at all. And I was really gutted about that yesterday before the game. Right now, I'm actually pleased that I don't have to submit myself to that, and I'm just kind of hoping in the back of my mind that I'll log on at some point and see, surprisingly, that West Ham have picked up a point or something. But I just fear that I'm going to look at it and go,
Well, I'm flying in from Sofia on Friday, and I should be back in time for the second half. So do you reckon the game will be over by then?
I bloody well hope not. I mean, I've got tickets to go to that game, but I'm not going to go. I think my son's going with a few of his mates now.
There's only one positive, though. There's only one positive. Our away form is definitely better than our home form.
Well, it is. It is. And you know what? Okay, let's try and cling on to some positives here. When we played Everton away, we looked decent. We did look decent. We played Arsenal away defensively. We were a lot more
against Arsenal.
Defensively we were a lot better, particularly on set pieces. Yesterday, on set pieces, we looked fucking woeful. So I'm hoping that we can go back to how we played against Everton and to some extent Arsenal. Although I'd like to think that we'd have a bit more of an attacking threat when we play against Leeds this week. We have to.
The 2 times that we have looked really good defensively, we've had Mavropanos in the back.
Yes.
Yeah,
that is correct.
We don't have him.
How bad
So
is
we
his
saying-
injury? How bad is
We
his
don't
injury?
know.
So what are we
But
saying, lads? Are we saying that everything, our success is all hindering on Mavropanos? Is this what it's all coming down to right now? Because that's what it feels like.
That is the state that we are in right now. That is how desperate things are.
Yeah, yeah.
Where
You're not wrong,
we
mate.
are looking at Mavropanos being out and thinking, "Oh, we're fucked." Yeah, someone just brought up AFCON as well. We're so screwed
Yeah, I
during
know.
AFCON.
I know. That's AWB and Diouf.
Well, can I just say something about AFCON, right?
That's why he played them last night. He's preparing for when they're not going to be in.
No. I've got a real problem with AFCON, right? Because these guys, right? Yeah, I know it's an honour to play for your country, but your bread and butter is playing for your club, the club that pays you your wages week in, week out. And when they fuck off to play in these tournaments, right? Sometimes for lesser nations that aren't going to progress, right? Being honest, no. Where's your loyalty? Keep your team up, right? Because if they're going to think to them, if they know that they're pivotal players in our team right now, and they think, oh, you know, I'm going to fuck off to AFCON.
Well,
I'll be gone for
Antonio,
a month.
isn't it? It's
No,
like
but
Antonio
I'm
jetting
having
around
a
the world
go.
long haul and coming back fucked for a week.
I just think, you know, I understand
Or losing
the,
his
you know,
passport, so he can't get back.
Yeah.
I just can't. I don't subscribe to this, right? I really don't.
No,
And I
you're
just
the
think they
same.
need to.
I
They need
think-
to stick with they need to be loyal to the club that pays them, right? I'm sorry. If we're flying in the Premier League, I'm kind of not really. I'm not really that bothered to an extent. But if we're literally teetering on being relegated, and we could be relegated as a result of these guys going on AFCON, then they should be staying. They should be staying at West Ham. I'm sorry.
I know a few people that I know a couple of people from Ghana as well, and they really do care about their country and their nation, and it's the same that we do as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's a shame they don't care about our club, then, isn't it? Really, Alex? Shame they don't care the same about our club.
That doesn't say that they don't. I wouldn't say that Aaron Wan-Bissaka is a player that doesn't
Take it
care.
personally, Chris. Don't take it personally. Come on.
I just get wound up by it. I just get wound up by this because I just feel like the priority should be West Ham for me. I'm sorry, it should be.
It is annoying, but we're not the only team. Sunderland are going to be decimated during AFCON because I think they've got like 5 or 6 African players that are going to be off to AFCON. Their fans are actually a little bit concerned about how they're going to.
I don't care about Sunderland, Alex. I couldn't give a shit about Sunderland.
Let's stop arguing about people going on international duty and say, right, Souček is great in here. Emergency centre back Souček, Thomas Souček. I've always been in favour of that.
No,
I've never. He is someone who was not afraid to get ahead on the ball. I mean, he got himself a black eye yesterday, didn't he?
Yeah, he always does.
Onto the ball. Does he have the ball playing qualities that we might need sometimes to get ourselves out of some tricky situations? I wouldn't be favourable of that, but he'll get himself stuck in and he'll throw himself in front of a ball.
What's that?
Gary, before the season started, we were talking about Alvarez for Mexico and why he wasn't given a chance.
How brilliant he was.
Now, it could be, behind closed doors, we don't know whether he had a falling out with Potter or Loppe. But if there's a chance of getting that loan terminated and having him back as a centre-back, he could be the beast. Because if we haven't got money, he could be the beast that could play in that centre-back.
Is he still injured? Is he still injured?
From what one of your followers said, he was injured currently, but we're still talking about 10 or 12 matches until he can come back. I'm talking about January getting him back.
Yeah, but he was he went over there, he played for Fenerbahce, they got knocked out of Champions League, then he got injured.
Yeah, but you're still talking. There's 2 months.
2 months.
I think that all depends if we've got a recall option or not. If we don't have a recall option,
apparently we don't.
That's just ridiculous. That's just another example of how pathetic we are in terms of dealing with these transfers. Right, loans. It's just a joke. I mean, it just
means 2 teams have got to come to an agreement. 2 clubs have got to come to an agreement to terminate the contract. Surely.
Yeah. It might be up to the player as well. I mean, I think he joined to play for Jose, and then week later, Jose got sacked.
He did, and he left the following week. Yeah.
Well, he might get on well with Nuno, you know. I mean, he fell out with the other team managers. Hopefully, he'll get on well with Nuno.
Hour 25. You promised me an hour, Chris. Hour 25. You know,
it's very hard.
It's very away with you. This show you're leading. You know what I mean?
You just don't stop talking, Gal. You know, time just goes on and on.
Can I just answer this? Will he play Igor now? Mavropanos injured. Well, no, because guess what? Igor can't head the ball either.
But is he injured? Because he went on the bench.
It doesn't matter if he's injured. He can't head the ball.
And he was not injured.
Oh Christ! I mean, what does that say?
We sign centre halves who cannot head the ball. We've got 3 of them. 3 out of 4.
I don't know how to end this. Can we try and end this show on a little bit of a higher or positive? Because we try to.
Do that. Come
we
on.
typically try to.
Cheer me up, Chris.
You're relying on me to cheer you up. I'm in the worse mood now than when we started this show. I genuinely am. I don't know.
I think if he plays the teams, I know Mavropanos aside, if he plays the teams that played against Everton and Arsenal, Mav aside, and he gives Callum Wilson a chance over Fulkrug, I think we will get at least a point against Leeds away. There's my positive take on it.
I agree about Wilson. Wilson must start.
My positive.
Somerville will get a goal against his old club.
That'd be good. I like.
Yeah, I like. I was thinking about that today. Actually, I thought that's an ideal game for him to really show what he's about in terms of the end product that he can score against Leeds. That really would be.
Okay. Well, my positive is, and you can look at this as a negative if you really want, but I've decided to look at this as a positive. There are still 30 games left to play this season, which is 90 points that are available. So there is still a long way to go, and a lot can happen and a lot can change. It's only Nuno's third game. These are the things that I would usually be telling other people, but I'm having to tell myself at the moment. I'm telling myself these things at the moment because these are all factors that you need to take in consideration. Nuno could sort it out. Nuno could get a tune out of these players. We could start picking up points, and by Christmas we could be in a very different position.
We could.
I'm not confident that we will, but that is a possibility. So,
I'm going to go with that train of thought there, Alex. I'm going to go with that, and you know what? On that basis, we could end the season with 94 points. That is enough. That is enough to get me in a better mood. I'm just saying. No, but you're right. You are right, though. I think that there are a lot more games to play, and we need a bit of luck.
93, I'm fine.
Yeah, we just need a bit of luck. We need a bit of luck with regards to injuries. We need a bit of luck with hopefully other teams just playing more shit than we're playing right now.
Bit of leadership.
Yeah, we just. But look, I think we proved against Everton that we aren't any pushovers. I think we proved that. I think we proved that against Arsenal to an extent. We were never going to go out and attack Arsenal. Let's be honest about it. But defensively, we were pretty good, even though we conceded 2 goals. But Arsenal top of the league, right? There's a high chance that they could win the league this season. We would have lost that game under Graham Potter or under Lopetegui probably much more convincingly. So I'm going to use those as positives. I'm going to look at yesterday as maybe a bit of a one-off when Nuno had the opportunity to look at other players that he typically wouldn't play, and now he's learnt his lesson and he's going to revert back to the players that we believe collectively are basically West Ham's strongest lineup. And I'm hoping that will be the case going into Leeds.
Chris, you've done a 180. Well done, mate.
Thank you, mate. I'm going with you here. I'm going with a point away against Leeds as well, by the way. I'm going to do that.
Thank you, Steve-O. 791-499. They took our home and our badge. They made promises they never intended to keep. We must stick together and see this through to the end. Yes, indeed.
And we must stick together. So
yes.
One last thing I would like to say, when it does come to the boycott, whether you went, whether you didn't, that is over now. And we've made our point. If you went to the game, absolutely brilliant. But we've got 2 more protests that are coming up. A City after Newcastle is going to be another protest before the Burnley game. And we come together like we did for that first protest and show our support for this cause to try and apply more pressure on that board, to get the media talking about it more. And hopefully that will amount to something.
Yeah, here. Can I just also add another positive? I can't believe this. I've got another positive as well. Whilst we're on the discussion of the boycott, which I've got to bring back. I know it's amazing, right? But when we're talking about the boycott and we're talking about how effective this was, people were saying, "Oh, we weren't as many people as we would have hoped." But the very fact, and you mentioned this earlier as well, in terms of how much exposure this is getting to the media now. I saw that Andy Goldstein was on TalkSport of all places, right? And he was out there saying that Brady and Sullivan are the worst owners in the Premier League, right?
Fantastic.
That is brilliant to hear that. In addition to that, and I saw your TikTok video earlier as well, Alex. You look at Jamie Carragher last night. Yeah. He also basically alluded to the fact that we have got terrible owners. Now this is becoming more and more prominent in the media.
Jeff Stelling did it on TalkSport this morning as well.
Yeah, and this wasn't happening. This was not happening a month ago. So for anyone that's saying this is not working, there's your examples that it
worked. You're not seeing the big picture. Not seeing the big picture. Can I say there's one more positive? Pete, you got any positive? You've done your positive, haven't you? I've got one more positive, right? Just one. We're not out of the title race yet. And that's it. We're done. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you, Claire, for modding. Quite a busy chat tonight. Thank you, Chris, Alex, Pete. Links to their shows are in the description of the video. Thank you for your time. And that's us done. See you soon. Come on, you wine.
Come on, you wine.